Good Wednesday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Plenty of Browns to talk about as they get ready for the Texans in Week 2 of the NFL season. We'll be joined a little bit later by Tim Bielik, reporter for cleveland.com, as well as the Plain Dealer. We will be joined by Dennis Manoloff, the D-Man, in just a minute. But Kevin Stefanski, moments ago, says Odell Beckham Jr. out for Week 2. He will practice on a limited basis, but Odell will be a no-go in Week 2 against the Texans at First Energy Stadium.
Not a ton of teams, well, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but everybody doesn't go live like they used to. Some teams rest their starters for an entire preseason. So there are guys that you play and you haven't been tackled to the ground until you do in the game. So that's, I wouldn't say in this particular case that's what's missing. But I think with Odell, we're just going to make sure that we continue to be smart about it, listen to him. He knows his body better than anybody. And then we'll make a decision that's right for him and the team. And then we'll kind of make that decision next week.
Also some news from out in Berea. Most of the offensive line not going as far as practice goes. And again, nothing crazy as far as injuries. Jedrick Wills still day-to-day. But giving the offensive line, the veterans, a little bit of rest with that extra week of the regular season going. Let's bring in the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff. So, Dennis, Odell a no-go, and, you know, if he's not 100%, there's no reason to rush him back at this juncture.
100% agree. I trust whatever Odell says about his body and his ability to come back and be ready to go. He will when he's ready, he'll say, "I'm ready." And you know, we have wanted in the this day and age where medical advances are so good, we've wanted to fast track everybody who has significant injuries. Oh, well, you know, this guy came back in such a quick amount of time, or that guy came back in such a quick amount of time. But everybody's different, and every position is different. The demands on the various body parts for a receiver, especially a knee, and as we know, Odell with a reconstructive knee surgery or an ACL at the very least. So, I trust Odell on this.
Yeah, and again, he knows his body better than anybody, so nothing against resting him and making sure he's 100% when he's ready. So Baker Mayfield addressed the team after that loss to Kansas City, not only about that game, but moving forward. Here's Baker Mayfield on what he told the team.
There's a fine line of walking, of beating yourself up about it, and then realizing there's 16 more. And I think we should beat ourselves up about it because, we feel like we should have won that game, but there is 16 more. So it's the mentality of, hey, we got to go up the next week and go do our job, but this one should sting. This one should sting, and you need to learn from it because we had that game and we need to, close it out. And so I think there's a fine line of walking that, and that was my message to them is, guys, you know what? We're going to be really good if we just do our job and, continue to be efficient and move the chains and help out our defense by staying on the field. But this one needs to sting, and you need to remember that all the little things matter, and that's how you need to approach the week of practice.
Love that message as well. It was an opportunity loss, much like you and I have said that playoff game against Kansas City was an opportunity loss. This one maybe even more so.
Yeah, Dave. I'm still grinding about the 22-17 divisional round loss. I think I told you once that I'll get over that when the Browns beat the Chiefs in a game that matters. Well, guess what? They had a chance on Sunday. Let me tweak a little bit of what the Bake Show says. I don't blame him as a player talking to his teammates about saying we should have won, but I prefer to say they could have won. And there's a difference there because if I say that the Browns should have won the game, then I discount the abilities of the opponent. And in this case, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're terrific. They have the best quarterback in the NFL. They're at home. So it's too much for me to say they should have won, but they easily could have won, but for, 4, 5, 6 different issues that cropped up. But I appreciate Baker Mayfield saying that. In the NFL, it's interesting how National Football League, the acronym can be, not for long. And not for long applies in a lot of ways. I mean, it can apply to a player's career. It can apply to the attrition that takes hold by virtue of injury. It can also apply to, you cannot dwell on a loss or you cannot gloat over a victory very long, because if either one of those happens, you've got a game the next week and you get punched in the mouth because you're not paying attention or you're too busy thinking about the previous week. All kinds of crazy stuff can happen. So I agree the Browns have to turn the page, but at least in the subconscious, they have to keep that one in their minds because it was an opportunity lost.
I agree wholeheartedly. The other thing I'll say is Baker Mayfield looked very much like a quarterback in command of his offense. There was a lot of decisiveness. There was a couple of throws that he missed, but every NFL quarterback misses a couple of throws.
Yeah, Dave, Baker Mayfield was playing terrific football for 3 quarters. And let me start, though, when I praise the Browns from Sunday, it starts and almost ends with Kevin Stefanski. I thought that Kevin Stefanski called as good of a game as basically you could possibly call. It was a near perfect game call by Kevin Stefanski. I had wondered on these airwaves, I had wondered about Stefanski's game calling in big games. I didn't necessarily like the way the offense moved or the way the offense behaved, if you will, in the divisional round. As one example, and I went back to Stefanski as OC in Minnesota, and there were a couple that I didn't like. On Sunday, he was awesome. I mean, he had his team prepared to play, and then specifically to the offense, that offense was taking it to the Chiefs. They were dictating policy. They were doing what they wanted to do whenever they wanted to do it. The first thing that slowed them down at all was the Nick Chubb fumble. And even beyond that, they were able to continue to go at least through 3 quarters. And when you look at what derailed the Browns on Sunday, in my opinion, none of it had to do with Kevin Stefanski's play calling. So I think Stefanski out-schemed the Chiefs. I'm not going to say he out-coached Andy Reid because Reid won the game, but Stefanski put his team in position to win. He did a phenomenal job. But as for Baker, really good, but you can't throw a pick in the final drive, even if you're tripped from behind trying to throw the ball out. You cannot throw a pick there. You can't turn it over. And I know it's a brief career for the Bake Show, but so far he is lacking in comeback victories, comeback fourth quarters against quality teams. He has the Bengals solved, but he doesn't quite have quality teams solved when you need him to bring to take the team down the field and score a touchdown.
All right, so let's move on. Mike Tannenbaum, former general manager, ESPN personality, came out with his quarterback rankings after week 1. And here they are, and they're a little head-scratching. Mahomes 1, Brady 2, Aaron Rodgers, that 13.4 is his quarterback ranking, his QBR. Rodgers was 3rd, Allen 4th, Wilson 5th. Then you see Ryan Tannehill, 17.5 quarterback ranking, 9th. Matt Ryan, 17.6 quarterback ranking, 10th. Baker Mayfield all the way down at 14 behind Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson. And Dennis Maniloff, when you look at this, if you're going to do quarterback rankings after week 1 should in somehow, shape, or form factor into it, but clearly that doesn't. And then below Baker Mayfield was Jameis Winston, who played really well for the Saints. I'm not sure how he arrived at these.
Yeah, let me start by saying I respect Mike Tannenbaum and what he's done in the NFL, but that list is absurd. As you point out so correctly, Dave, if you're going to do a quarterback list like that, a quarterback ranking like that, then just flip to the backs of all these guys' football cards and list them according to their accomplishments. Because what in the world did week 1 have to do with that list? I mean, you had Kyler Murray, who dominated on the road at Tennessee. He dominated Ryan Tannehill's Titans, and he was listed below Tannehill. You had Jameis Winston, whose Saints, he and his Saints dominated the Packers, whose quarterback Aaron Rodgers was out to lunch and was awful. But Winston is ranked in the middle, like 15 or what was it? And Rodgers is ranked 3rd. What are we doing? I mean, if week 1 doesn't matter, it's a pointless exercise. Just rank the quarterbacks according to their career achievements. And, Mayfield being down that low doesn't make sense when he's behind a guy like Matt Ryan, whose Falcons were trucked at home by the Eagles. That thing is a jumbled mess. And to me, it's just to get people to talk and get people like me to criticize it. But Mike Tannenbaum's got to be better than that.
Yeah, if you're gonna do week 1, make sure week 1 factors into it. I mean, Ryan Tannehill at 9, he was awful against the Cardinals.
Kyler Murray outplayed him 6 ways to Sunday. He can't be ranked below Ryan Tannehill.
Agree wholeheartedly. All right, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, and I are going to step aside. Take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, Sports Illustrated's power rankings for the NFL after week 1. We'll also hear some ESPN personalities who thinks the Browns are the best team in the AFC North. That's straight ahead. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
Sports for CLE continues. We continue talking Browns football. ESPN's Get Up. Rob Ninkovich thought the Steelers were the best team in the AFC North after week 1. Dominique Foxworth went with the Ravens. Here is what Kimberly Martin had to say about who's the top team in the AFC North after watching week 1.
I'm shocked that anyone could say otherwise, because this is a team that almost beat Kansas City last year in the divisional round. I understand Patrick Mahomes is hurt. This is a team that this weekend almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs, like jumped on the Chiefs early. Now, because of miscues, because of the messed up punt, because of the interception, the sacks, I get it. That's why they lost. But come on, like, this is a team blow for blow. I said this on Countdown. A team official had said, we understand. We got to go toe-to-toe with this team. It's like playing the Golden State Warriors. The Browns did that until the 4th quarter. So unless you're going to tell me that the Steelers and the Ravens can definitely do what we've seen the Browns do against Kansas City, you can't say anybody else but the Browns.
And D-Man, I agree with her. I know the Steelers beat the Bills. If you watched that game, Steelers' defense is really good, and we knew it would be. Steelers' offense, still a little challenged.
Yeah, but you could also say that the Steelers' offense had to go to Orchard Park, New York, and face, the Bills, who many people think are the primary challenger to the Chiefs for the AFC supremacy. And I guess you'd throw the Browns in there as well. But I give the Steelers credit there. That was a heck of a victory for them. They should feel great about it. And as far as who's the best team in the AFC North right now, I'm going to reserve judgment. Let's just say this, Dave. I'm going to wait till the Browns win a game first, all right? Beat the Texans decisively, and then I'll relax a little bit. But it's hard for me to say unequivocally, throwing my flag in the ground, saying the 0-1 Browns are the best team in the division. I want to see a victory first.
So you're still pumping the brakes here is what you're telling me. All right.
Well, and I'll tell you what, it's always great to see the Ratbirds lose. I love watching the Ravens lose, and it was a beautiful thing on Monday night. Thank you, Derek Carr. we're going to find out a lot about the Baltimore Ravens this Sunday when they play host to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Because they're home, it's their home opener, their defense is physical. Yeah, they've had a lot of injuries, especially at the running back position. They lost Marcus Peters, the corner. So they've been hit by more than their share of injuries right out of the gate. But we're going to find out a lot about the Ravens because the Chiefs come in and we get to see those two teams match up.
All right, so let's take a look. Sports Illustrated power rankings after week 1, and they have the Rams as the top team in the NFL. Bucks number 2, Chiefs 3, 49ers number 4, Browns number 5, followed by the Packers, Bills, and Seahawks. So Browns, even though they lost, they have them as the fifth team in the NFL. That's Sports Illustrated.
Well, again, the Browns are 0-1. So I need a win, maybe 2, 3, 4 in a row before I start to buy in. We talk the same kind of concept with the power rankings for teams as for quarterbacks. Okay, best rosters on paper going into the season, the Cleveland Browns. So if you want to stay with that, you keep ranking them high. But if you want to factor in week 1, I don't know that they're as high. Yes, they get credit for going toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, and in a game they easily could have won, but the fact of the matter is they still did not win. And, I look at a team like the Seattle Seahawks, based on what they did in week 1 and based on Russell Wilson's resume and some of the other players they have on the team, ahead of the Browns for the moment. I don't